Morning, everybody. This is Martin John. I am here, the host of Recover Yourself podcast, as well as the Tao of the Day. If you're unfamiliar with what the Tao Te Ching is, that is at the core of everything we talk about here on Tao of the Day. The Tao Te Ching is an ancient text written 600 BCE, right around the same time scholars believe that the Old Testament was being written. So this is considered an ancient text, and it consists of 81 chapters. And each chapter is fairly short, and all collected, it compiles the canon of reason. This is the collection of writings that help us live a reasonable life. So if you have a number between 1 and 81 you would like to share, definitely jump up and let me know. I would love to chat with you about the Tao Te Ching. I work with individuals around transformational growth, around spiritual growth, around human growth. What I try and do is just get people to understand that there's no reason to get anybody else to change for you, but for you to open yourself up so nothing needs to change around you. The Tao states, in the Tao, it states that, do you think you can change the world? I don't think it can be done. The world is perfect. If you start messing with it, it will you'll destroy it. And I believe that. And I believe that if we can just sit back and watch and observe and be present with this moment, accepting it as it is, then we will be able to grow into who we are. I host workshops regularly, and if you're interested in that, definitely DM me. So if anybody has a number between 1 and 81, I would love to get you to step up and share that number with me, and then we can talk about the Tao. Once again, the Tao is an ancient text, and this is very similar to pulling a tarot card. It is, going to show you a way that you can look at things that are going on in your life. I lean on the translation of Stephen Mitchell, but if you have come up a number of times in the past, I may pick a different translation so that we can, freshen it up. Sometimes the translations that we use and the translations that we lean on can get a little stale, even if it is Stephen Mitchell. Stephen Mitchell is a wonderful Tao scholar and has done a lot of really great work around translating. I even read his translation of the Bhagavad Gita, and that was a wonderful translation as well. He just has a way of putting things into words that make it more accessible. The translation of the Tao that he wrote was translated in 1988, and it still holds really well today. I've read a couple translations from 2000 and later, and those don't those don't seem to always have the right impact, but Stephen Mitchell's does. So I do lean on Stephen Mitchell quite heavily. So if anybody wants to step up and give me a number between 1 and 81, I would love to have you up on stage and we can chat for about 15 minutes. What we'll do is we'll read through it, get some of your initial thoughts on what it is and that what is your Tao for the day, and then we'll run through it line by line to make sure that we have it understood. Sometimes when we read things like this, the beginning and the end can often get disparate. They can often get separated. We don't put them together all the time. We say, okay, here's a separate idea from this. But when we can go through it line by line, we can start connecting all of the dots and making sure that we keep our mind open to what is. That's such a beautiful way of putting it, right? Like, keep your mind open to what is. Receive this now. Receive this moment as it is. If anybody wants to step up and pick a number, I would love to have you. I'm going to start, and if nobody wants to come up, I will start. And I'll start with this. I've run across this Suzuki and Karas translation from 1913, and I'm excited to explore it. So far, I have seen some really wonderful translations, and so I'm picking number 44. And what it says is, so in this translation, they give each of the chapters a title, and the chapter 44 has a title of Setting Up Precepts. And if I were to precepts, I just want to make sure that I know what precepts means. Um, so that a general rule intended to regulate behavior or thought, a writ or warrant. Okay, so setting up general rules, setting up precepts. Okay, name or person, which is more near? Person or fortune, which is more dear? Gain or loss, which is more seer? Extreme dotage leadeth to squandering, hoarding wealth inventeth plundering. Who is content incurs no humiliation. Who knows when to stop risks no vitiation. I don't know what that word is. We'll have to figure that out. Oh my God, Liam, this is wonderful. I'm glad to have you up. Forever lasteth his duration. Hey, Liam, how are you doing?
I'm very well, Martin. I'm very well indeed, actually. Yeah, I was. Thank you for inviting me on here. I just wanted to say that actually, it's so important for me to come back on and just to be with you guys again. It's really nice how that happens in life as well when you see some little resurgences that happen and they all make sense.
It is true. It is true. It's I mean, I've looked back on my life and every moment, every confusing fucking thing, like
Yeah,
at some point, like
yeah,
made sense later down the
absolutely,
line.
absolutely, yeah. And it's those things that we have to ask questions about our strengths, don't we? We have to ask questions about our responsibilities, and for those reasons, I think that um, coming into your own kind of spiritual pathway is amazing. Is so graceful and full of love and full of lovely hearts around you, and it's got so much benefits to it that I'm so grateful. I really am. I'm so grateful for everyone out there who's helped me on my journey and who's lifted a darkness that was in me inherently, and it was a horrible place that I was in, and that's why kind of I resonated with you and Andy as well, because I think that
Mm.
both of you had that journey where you both had this kind of power, this beautiful spiritual power, uh, but Andy had this kind of thing where she knew where she was going, she had the drive, and you had this beautiful way that you had to um, express yourself with your artwork, at which by the way I've noted as well is amazing, and it's so authentically it's just really it identifies who you are and what you've been through. And I think that you sharing that is a very brave step to make.
Oh, well, I appreciate that. Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. And for those who aren't familiar with Andy, it's Andy Scarantino. She is on here on the Wisdom app as well, and we're buddies. And yeah, so Liam, I think that's a really great primer to start and
Yeah.
see if we can pick a number and see what the
Okay, I'm
Tao.
going to go straight in with 16.
16,
Mm.
wonderful. 16. Empty your mind of all thoughts. Let your heart be at peace. Watch the turmoil of beings, but contemplate their return. Each separate being in the universe returns to the common source. Returning to the source is serenity. If you don't realize the source, you stumble in confusion and sorrow. When you realize where you come from, you naturally become tolerant, disinterested, amused, kind hearted as a grandmother, dignified as a king. Immersed in the wonder of the Tao, you can deal with whatever life brings you, and when death comes, you are ready.
Wow, wow, that's really prominent.
Yeah.
You know
I,
what? As you were saying that, I was kind of I was I was I was addressing, or rather, I was putting my intention and my um, my light into my heart space, and I
Yeah.
was kind of like, it was like I was dusting off an old tablet, an old really old kind of, like you said, a mausoleum would be like an old, I don't know what they call them. It's like a casket, isn't it? But it's a stone casket. And I was dusting it off in my heart, and I was dusting the place off. And then I dropped a pillow on there, a really comfortable pillow, and it's sort of
Mm.
like that. That resonates with me too, with kind of like nature around me, and the heart of Gaia, and the heart of the moon, and the heart of love, and also, the sacred heart that we share through our own endeavors. But like, and then it's like, for me, after that, it was like I wanted to make that space comfortable. So it's about making your heart space comfortable. um, um, and to me, that's probably the bottom line about where it is at the moment. It's almost like, you traveling around, and I've traveled around so much and not been able to know where I'm going, and not been caring enough about it. I've had this all my life about going, the way that life takes me, the wind takes me this way. And I suppose that's great sometimes, but also sometimes you have to have questions. You have to have questions. And the questions are in the morning, like, how are you? Are you okay? What are you feeling like this morning? What do you feel that is wrong? Something's wrong this morning. What is it that's bothering you? Do you need help? Do you need assistance? Do you need my help? Do you need my assistance? Can you get somewhere? Do you have a home? Anything like that is the way that I kind of like looking at stuff like that.
Yeah, and I think, this one starts in a really beautiful place because, yes, we want to let your heart be at peace, right? And I
Mm,
know that that's where you started this with you, with dusting off that tablet
mm,
of the heart.
mm,
But like the line before that is empty your mind of all thoughts,
mm.
let your heart be at peace, right? So these are connected. And I think that the questions sometimes can really, like, depending on how we ask
Resonate
them.
with you, doesn't it? Yeah.
Yeah,
I can
depending on
I can
how we ask it, those
mm,
questions can really cause more turmoil rather than less.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And in that field as well, of knowing that as well, it does cause more turmoil. The more that you don't empty your mind, the more problems you're going to face, because you're not giving that shitakash, that space, that awareness to the places that it needs to be aware of. Like your head needs to be aware first of all, and then your heart needs to be aware. But also our chakra system needs to be aware as well. And
Hmm.
for me, that's important. So when we have that space, that shitakash, we have, we've kind of endowed the mother. We've made her present. We've made her aware that her space is absolutely, you know absolutely, so important, because she's the mother that, has the womb that carries the children, and da 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 da, da. So
And
that's,
this is where, like Mother Earth and the mother
yeah,
of, Tao and all of these things. And
yeah.
as we go through this chapter, we see that each separate being in the universe, right? These are the children. Each
Mm,
separate being in the universe returns to the common source, returns to that mother.
mhm.
Returning to the source is serenity. And that's where, that's possible to do because we let our heart be at peace, because we're able
That's
to
where we
empty our
communicate
mind.
from as well. That's where
Yes.
we kind of, we have this love inherent from us, from our mother, from an early age. And I think that some that identify with the love that they may or may not had, or if they didn't have the love that the mother gave them in their own way, they would be kind of perturbed and perplexed about it, and they wouldn't understand it. But you're not supposed to understand it. You're supposed to just realize at a later date that she loves you, because this is the way that it feels. This
Right.
is the way that it feels. It hurts. Love
Yes.
hurts. Love is a splendid, magnificent concept, but love hurts,
Right.
and it's meant to hurt, because it's meant to jolt you out of that situation that you get yourself, that turmoil, that inner turmoil that you have.
Like as we continue, like if you don't realize the source, if you don't realize the mother, if you don't realize that, you stumble in confusion and sorrow. When you realize where you come from, when you realize the mother, you naturally become tolerant, disinterested, amused, kind-hearted as a grandmother and dignified as a king. Right? We no longer are confused because we realize that we are at one with this love, with this mother, with this full spectrum. If you don't realize the source, you stumble in confusion and sorrow.
Yeah, we're into our core values if we realize, if we don't have to realize the source of it. The source is, is out there and irrelevant to me at this point, because I know that that's where it's coming from. But I think nothing more than it doesn't need any thought. Yeah,
No,
that
no,
what you,
right. And that's where it starts. Empty
yeah,
your mind and all thought, let
yeah.
peace. And then, as we continue, immersed in the wonder of the Tao, right? This is the Great Mother. This is the intense feminine, in immersed in the wonder of the Tao.
Mm,
You can deal with whatever life brings you,
mm,
and when death comes, you are ready.
yeah, yeah. And that's the nicest, comfortablest part of it, isn't it? When you know that what's around the corner no longer will harm you, because you're on the path, you're on the way. That you've had so much in your lives, in your, in your life, that you've gone through with. And me as a coach as well, it's like before, I've not been able to do too much, to the extent of, like, being in a business, or being in an upwardly mobile kind of, franchise, or whatever it takes, like that. But I have a different life path, is one that we take, and we are chosen for that particular reason, and we choose that pathway before we come to this planet. We
Right.
choose that. We
Yeah.
choose that. We have that, because when we're in that, when we're in the birth canal, we're being asked so many questions, and we're identifying with it, and the source is actually identifying with where we need to be, where that needs to go. And for us to, as well, that moment when the birth happens, sometimes when a birth happens, a baby is smacked on the ass or something like that, it's smacked on the backside,
Yeah.
and that's straight away the baby cries, and it doesn't know the pain of it. It doesn't identify with it, what it is, yet. It's still thinking in those front fontanelles about how, what is that? What is that? What is that pain? What is that? I can't identify with that. But I do believe strongly that there's so many gifts out, that our abilities, our abilities drive us towards that. It really doesn't matter. The identification of those things doesn't matter to our conditioning. It doesn't matter.
Right. Right. And I
Hmm.
think that that's where this is, right? If we can empty our mind of all thoughts, as it states in the beginning, let our heart be at peace, and then kind of observe other beings in the universe and remember that they're always going to return to that source, that mother. And then that we need to be able to recognize the source in our life. And we don't have to necessarily do anything to help others recognize that within themselves, because it is within them anyway. And then, as long as we are immersed in the wonder of the Tao, we can deal with whatever life brings us.
Yes, yes, yes.
Right? And that's the whole here. And then at the end, when death comes, whether that's the death of your darkness so that you can step into the light, or whether that's the death of your body and you can once again step into the light, step into that continued, non dual experience that we have as spirit.
Yeah, yeah.
So
You
then,
can breathe. You can
as
breathe the
as we
fresh
can
air,
yeah,
clean.
as we can kind of like appreciate the death of the past, appreciate the death of who we believe we are, and as you were talking
Mhm.
about identity, as we can appreciate the death of identity, we can
Mm.
then embrace who we will be,
Yeah,
rather than only understanding us as we have been.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Such a
That's so
beautiful
that's so
thing.
consistent of you to say that. I really love the way that you said that. It is a real that's a blessing and a half. You know, it's great that you've identified that as well. And you know, you being a healer as well as a teacher and a leader, we have a lot of work to work on, at least on ourselves. But not only that, we have a lot of work to work on with the world, I think, as well, because I think that soul healers out there at the moment that are working to heal the heart of divine peace, it's a job that we need to share, and we need to get into that quadrant, and we need to be with that soul alchemy and be with that love around. So
Well,
thank you very much, Martin, for
I'll end that with, for myself, just end that with, like the Tao does state that if you think you can't fix the world is sacred. We
no,
want,
we're here, we're ready for it, everything, we're
right. We want
gonna
to be
be,
able to accept it and accept
yeah,
ourselves and
we're
be here in
definitely here.
love. Thank you so
Yeah,
much, Liam. I appreciate
lots of love
you.
and lots of peace to you both. I'll come back very soon and see you again, and yeah, just
Be
be
well.
safe and be cool. Yeah, thanks,
Yeah,
Martin. Cheers. All right,
absolutely.
bye
All right.
for now.
We're going to bring up Kelly and then Graciela. Graciela, if you can stick around, please do. Kelly, my buddy, how's it going? Are you in California?
Yeah, yeah. I was gonna go for a walk or something, but I just like stood there and listened to Liam talk because it was like a river. So,
Like a river. I love that. Like, what was like a river?
rivers like turn and they go up and down and they have like rocks in them, and so they get rapidy and then they get smooth and wide and small.
Yeah.
There's so much
Oh,
to it.
that's beautiful. Yeah, there was definitely a lot there. So, so you've been on the Tao of the Day quite some time, quite a few times. So we're gonna switch translations. We're gonna see if we can explore Isabel Mears from 1916.
Ooh,
What do you
yes.
think? You up for it?
That sounds great.
All right. So give me a number, and then we'll explore this. Because I really love Isabel Mears. I haven't read it too much, but let's see what she has.
23.
23. With few words, affirm the self. A great wind does not blow all morning. A heavy wind does not continue all day. Why is this so? It is because of the inner relations of heaven and earth. If heaven and earth cannot make things last long, how much less can man? Therefore, he who follows the service of Tao is one with Tao. He who is virtuous is the one with Day. This is Day is a word meaning like power. So Tao Te Ching, this is one is virtuous with Day, which is that middle word in Tao Te Ching.
Mm,
He who fails is one with failure. He who is one with Tao, Tao shall also claim him. He who is at one with Day, Day shall also claim him. He who is one with failure, failure shall also claim him. Faith, this is not complete. Faith that is not complete is not faith. So I would
hmm
love to read that again because it is so difficult. Because
The
this is from
claiming part.
1916. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So with few words, affirm the self. And I think what that means, and I would like, we can go through this line by line now. So with few words, affirm the self. And I think that means like, don't boast upon yourself too much. With few
Mm.
words, affirm the self. What do you think?
And simplify too, because
Oh,
few,
simplify. Yeah.
yeah.
Just be simple in how you affirm yourself. Like, you don't have to, with few words, affirm the self. Don't stand by so many things. The more you stand by, the more you, like, I'm a mother, I'm a daughter, I'm like, I'm this, I'm that, I'm an employee, I'm like,
Then you're not paying attention to the single most important thing, which is that you're part of all of this and that we're all
right.
part of all this.
So with few words, affirm the self. I think that's great. And then it goes into this. And this thing, and I've read this one before in other translations, so I understand this. I'm going to read this kind of section that kind of talks about it. A
Like
great
I
wind does not.
am. Sorry.
I
But you know,
am
like
right. That's the way.
yeah, simple.
That's the way
I
I
am.
affirm the self, right? Like I am. Period. If you finish
Yeah.
that sentence with anything but a period, you're limiting yourself. I always
You're
think.
more than few. Yeah. Because
Yeah.
two. That's it.
The
Okay.
great wind does not blow all morning, a heavy wind does not continue all day. Why is this so? It is because the interrelations of heaven and earth. If heaven and earth cannot make things last long, how much less can man? So that talks about like, if we look at that, like with few words affirm the self, how often do we find people constantly boasting upon themselves and saying, I am this, I am that, I am this, I am that, I am all of these things, and I am,
Mhm.
and with a heavy wind, if we want to kind of look at wind as being like a windbag, someone who's going to talk a lot, right? Always trying to affirm the self, trying to prove a point, trying to do all these things. You know, even heaven and earth can't make the wind last all day. So can't you give it a rest? Can't you just be I am and that's it? Like you don't have to go on forever to make sure everybody else knows you and understands you. Even the wind will take a break at some point.
And like just that you cannot yeah, just it comes back to just being again. Like the more you focus on trying to be, the less you can be. And like yeah, like there's no power. You don't have the power to be all these other like you
Right.
can't fight it. Yeah, don't fight it.
Yeah. And then you start compartmentalizing, right? Like this is when I am doing this. This is when I am doing this. And you start thinking that like I had an argument with my wife this morning. Now I'm going to go do my job as a police officer and that's not going to affect me at all. It's like, actually, you're probably going to go out there and be a dick, right? But so
Probably.
it's like at some point it's like just be here now, and and then maybe you won't have to get in an argument at all, right? Because you are here now and you're not attaching, you're not holding on to the definitions of the things around you.
Will you read that last paragraph, like that last section one more time? I know I'm
Yeah.
gonna probably go long, but like the whole wind thing is I'm stuck on something.
Okay, a great wind does not blow all morning, a heavy wind does not continue all day. Why is this so? It is because of the interrelations of heaven and earth. If heaven and earth cannot make things last long, how much less can man?
Okay.
Thoughts?
Well, it's like a great wind and then a heavy wind. It's kind of like they're separate, right? But
Hmm.
because these two use different words, so but it's like also the wind exists because of the like because everything exists and like also then just like how light travels like you know energy like it always transfers you can't contain it forever and like
Right.
yeah.
But, it's I remember being in the mountains in Sicily at one point and like the wind was just blowing and blowing and blowing and blowing and blowing. It was just always blowing. And then it stopped.
Yeah.
It's like heaven and earth can't keep things going forever. It's like there's a time for it, right? There's time for wind and there's a time for calm. But like when the wind is blowing, you know it. You like it is brutal.
Oh
I
gosh,
was out there.
yes.
I was out there with this little old Italian lady who was just upset that like the wind was so brutal. But it seemed to me because I had just gotten there that it would be like that forever. But then it
Mm,
stopped and it was a completely different experience. Like she had all these plants and stuff and like when the wind came up like they were flying around. But my experience was so limited that I thought it was forever. But it wasn't her experience. Her experience was like, no, this is bad. This is brutal wind. That's that heavy wind does not continue all day. Why is this so? Because of how heaven and earth work together. If heaven and earth can't make things last that long, how much less time can man continually be consistent. Right? You can't just do things forever. That means, like with few words, affirm the self. That is where we started. Right? So shut your mouth. Like be
And
here.
heaven and earth too, like the sun and the earth, like yeah, like those are so much bigger than you, but they're not
Right.
at the same time, like yeah, it's lots of imagery. I really like this.
Yeah. Therefore, he who follows the service of Tao is one with Tao. He who is virtuous is one with day. He who fails is one with failure. He who is one with Tao, Tao
Mm,
shall also claim him. He who is one with day, day shall also claim him. He who is one with failure, failure shall also claim him. And all of those things like that, if you walk with Tao, if you walk with power, if you walk with success, if you walk with failure, if you walk with ease, if you live by a standard, that standard will claim you.
yeah,
That's how I see that.
the claiming part is heavy, and the fact that like it goes from power, like the Tao, to power to failure. Like failure is included as something great.
Hmm. And that's a lesson too, right? Like
Hmm.
failure could be all sorts of things, but so can power and so can Tao in this moment, right? So,
So
and it claims you. I want to look at
yeah.
this in another translation just to see how it. If you open yourself to Tao, you are at one with Tao. You can embody it completely. If you open yourself to insight, that's that power if you open yourself to insight, you are at one with insight and you can use it completely. If you open yourself to loss, you are at one with loss and you can accept it completely. So that's the section through the translation of Stephen Mitchell.
Hmm.
So instead of
It
failure, he used loss, and that
well,
might be stronger.
it so like failure for me is me, I have a lot of self-worth issues and failure issues. Like those are some pretty haunting things. They just are like haunting as in like an always present monster. But it, maybe just turning the way that you perceive being a failure. Okay, so fine. Like if I'm constantly fighting, feeling like a failure, then failing at everything, then just change the way that I perceive point of view, which I love to think about.
Hmm.
Um, perceive failure. It's okay. Like I know like it's important to teach your kids to fail is okay because like mistakes are good. That's where you learn from all these things. But I also can recognize right here, right now in front of all of you, that I can definitely change my perception of failure to something positive. It
Yeah.
doesn't feel like it, like Liam, that's why he was like a river, because I was, like, sometimes not necessarily following, but it's still flowing. And, like, but he talked about, um oh, man, I just totally lost it. He said something about love, uh, that I totally was just like, "Yeah," like, it just made so much sense. I'll have to wait till it comes back up again, but, yeah,
Hmm.
that's what I got from it. But it's like it's equal to these things. Like these things you're experiencing are equal to the Tao, to power or insight. Insight something I also absolutely love. And like,
Yeah, and failure and loss are the same as well. Like,
yeah.
and that's having faith in the things, right? Like with few, like, and this is constantly going back to that first line. With few words,
Mhm.
affirm the self. With like, it's actually it's a demand of us. It's saying with
Mm,
few words affirm the self, period. And by that, with that, while we affirm the self with few words, we get to experience all this. We get to experience failure, but we're not affirming ourselves with a lot of words, so we don't have to associate with the failure, but the failure, the loss can claim us, and that's okay. And this whole piece ends with this beautiful last sentence. Faith that is not complete is not faith.
Mm-hmm. For
Meaning,
sure.
like, if you don't have faith in failure, then you don't have faith in Tao. If you don't have faith in loss, if you don't have faith in the fact that this moment is perfect as it is right now, if you don't have faith that things are going to change and change is the constant, remember, as we were talking about, the great wind doesn't blow all day, so the difficulty that you're going to experience isn't going to be all day. Heaven and earth can't make things last that long, which means, like, this, like, in short, maybe this could be, and this too shall pass.
Mm.
And have faith in that moment, in that
Complete,
concept.
complete faith gives you, this is because I thought about what William was talking about, a sense of home. That's something that I've been kind of really missing recently. And okay, so my entire life, but that whole root chakra thing. And so, like, just finding your home within, like really having that complete sense of self in few words.
Kelly, come back up so you can land that, please. And then we'll move on to Graciela immediately following that. Graciela, thank you so much for being patient. Go on.
Just that sense of home, like you have to feel home in your heart. You have to feel it in your heart. Like you're not going to get it externally. Like other people might, however they get it, but Kelly, me, like I have to feel home and safety from within. Like there's just no external source for that.
Yeah. Yeah, keep it open. With few words, affirm the self.
Mm-hmm.
Keep it flexible. And understand that no matter what is happening, it is the self. Faith that is not complete is not faith. We have to accept it, receive it all, allow it to be here.
And
Thank you
that
so
word
much.
complete, yeah, it's just this,
Yeah,
it's within. You can only be
it
complete
is.
from within. Yeah.
It is.
Thank you.
I've run across so many people that have partial faith. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it's like we'll believe that good things happen, but when bad things happen, we don't believe. But it's like, you know what? They're all the same. Let's be here now.
Yeah.
Hmm.
23. You did good today. Thanks, Martin.
Love you, Kelly. Have a
Love you
wonderful
too.
day. We'll be in touch.
Thanks. Yes, great. Bye.
Okay, Graciela, my buddy. How are you, my dear?
Funny how you say my buddy like that because Elijah says, "Hey, Buggy."
I'm a big fan. Like, I use the word buddy for a lot of, like,
Mm.
I like the word buddy.
So that's what his dada says to him, right? When he sees him. So Michael will say to him, "Hey, buddy," and so Elijah now says to all of us, "Hey, Buggy," like that when he sees us. And we
Oh,
keep
so cute.
correcting him, but you know how it is.
Yes, yeah. Like, I learned that way as well. Like, I say things incorrectly for a long, long time until I go, oh, it's not what I thought it was.
Well, the other day, have you spoken with Deborah Barsha here?
Yes, of
Deborah
course.
Barsha?
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, of course. Well, I don't know. I
Oh
just want
no,
to know.
sorry. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No,
Okay.
we're buddies. We're buddies.
Okay, good. So I was sharing with her this argument that I had with my 3-year-old son the other day because he discovered the ukulele and he
Hmm.
makes me open the ukulele from the case and give it to him and he insists that it's a violin. and we
Oh.
and we spent like an hour arguing and he threw the biggest fit until I realized he was throwing the fit because he wanted me to stop correcting him. My gosh, I'm learning something new every day here, but needless to say, it's not a ukulele, it's still a violin. And we're just going to see where that takes us. We might end up buying a violin, to really illustrate the difference. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's
Wow.
just so funny how he just doesn't want to call it what it is. He just says violin.
Wow. That's interesting.
Yes. And I have a guitar, so and I know how to play the ukulele. So like he sees it on the TV and he knows that it's different, but he still insists. So you know what? It's all good. It's his. He can take it. It's his violin.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. I mean,
Hmm.
that is
So
all.
thank you. Thank you for listening to mine.
Absolutely.
Let's see. I want 14, and I'm very interested in this translation you were sharing.
Oh, Isabel Mears.
That's right, 1916. We've done her
Yep.
before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I am down for that. Okay. Looking at it, you do not see it. You call it invisible. Listening to it, you do not hear it. You call it inaudible. Touching it, you do not grasp it. You call it intangible. These three cannot be described, and they blend, and they are one. Above, it is not bright. Below, it is not dim. Increasingly, it cannot be called by name. It enters into form and returns into spirit. That is why it is called spiritual form of form, spiritual image of image. That is why it is called vague and indeterminate. Meet it, you cannot see its beginning. Follow it, you cannot see its end. Consider the Tao of old in order to arrange in order to arrange affairs of now, and to be able to know the life spring of old is to give expression to the thread of the Tao. Okay.
You know what? She is as poetic as she is bleak. And
Yes.
and and that was so good though. No, that was so powerful. I got goosebumps and I knew she was talking about the spirit immediately. And
Yeah.
it was so good.
I really, I love the way, like this one starts in a really beautiful way, right? Looking at it, you do not see it. You call it invisible. You call it inaudible. You call it intangible. These three cannot be described, but they blend and are one.
Mhm,
They
mhm.
blend and are one. Like this idea that like all of these things, like when something is invisible, inaudible, intangible,
Well,
like
they're not
now it
though.
is one thing.
Well, that's the thing. There's a difference between me calling something something and it being it. And this is the
Right.
distinction that she's making.
So beautiful.
It's I may call whatever what I want to call it, and that doesn't make it so.
Violin or in right. This is this all about your violin and ukulele problems?
This is about a lot of things, my friend.
Yeah.
This is about a lot of things, but I totally get it. That's the beautiful thing about it, right? And you know, I love how she breaks up three things that we call something, yet they may not be so. In the end, it's all blended together. They're just one. What is that? Like, I may give it a name as well. Why? Because I'm human and that's what we do, we just call things, right? Like, this takes me back to
Right.
freaking Pocahontas singing to John Smith. You know what I mean? And
I haven't seen that, so
oh
I
my
don't have the
gosh,
children, so
are
I
you
don't
gonna
know.
make me sing? Okay, well, you're
No,
not
I'm not
that
gonna
much
make you
older than
sing.
me, and Pocahontas is super old. So she's singing to him, you think I'm an ignorant savage, and you've been so many places, I guess it must be so. But here I cannot see if the savage one is me. How can there be so much that you don't know? You don't
Wow.
know. And then she goes on to
So
explain how
beautiful.
everything, thank you, how everything has a name, has a spirit, has a voice, something like that. And then it's
Uh,
the most famous song about, painting with the colors of the wind. It's super famous. It
oh, I
won
do
an
know that
Oscar.
song. I've
You
I've
do know
heard
that
the
song.
well, I've heard the chorus, like
Have you ever heard the wolf cry to
yeah.
the blue corn moon? Or ask the grinning bobcat why he sings? We need to sing with all the voices of a mountain. We need to paint with all the colors of the wind.
Absolutely.
You
Yeah, I
can
do know that
only,
song.
yeah.
That's
Yay.
chakra
Okay.
music. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So
At the grocery
anyway,
store.
yes, beautiful number. I agree, and what a way to connect to what we were just describing
Yeah, yeah,
about
absolutely.
my child and what's in a name. I mean, Shakespeare said it too, right? What's in a name? A
Yeah,
rose
a
called any other
rose
thing would smell as
would
sweet,
smell
right?
sweet, right?
Right.
And that's where above it isn't bright, below it isn't dim. You know, as an artist, I recognize that if we didn't have lights, if we didn't have electric lights, we would recognize that the sky is always brighter than the land, barring some cloud cover things that actually happen that are really beautiful. Um, but above it isn't bright, below it isn't dim. Like that references this idea that like the sky is always brighter than the land, than because that's where the light is coming from. And
Mm-hmm,
and
mm-hmm.
so that is like an observing, and like we say one is bright, one is dim, one is bright, one is dark, whatever. But like,
But she says it's not.
what's that?
She says it's not, right? What is it that she says about above
Right.
and
Above
below?
it is not bright, below
Right,
it is not dim. She is referencing the fact that we call it something, we name it something, we have identified it, but really
right.
above and below are intangible.
Yes. And also, this takes me back to very common, very common phrase used in in some conversations: "As above, so below." This is, I feel like
Mm.
astrologers and tarot readers tend to use this phrase a lot. "As above, so below." It takes me to, how your thoughts, they're above, right? Your mind, the air signs are above, right? And so your thoughts are air before they are words, before they are materialized, before they are a project, before they come to life. So as above, so below. However, she is saying that's not so.
Right.
or
Yeah.
she's just going, oh yeah, this is a good one for sure. It's going to make me think all day.
You know, and then it says unceasingly, unceasingly, like this thing, this idea of like never
It's never
stopping.
ending.
Yeah.
Yes,
It
never
cannot
ending.
be
Well, that's
called by a
hope.
name.
Well, I call it hope, but yes.
Yeah. Unceasingly, it cannot be called by a name. And I think hope, depending on who you are, is going to mean different things. It enters into form and returns into spirit. That is why it is called spiritual form, spiritual image of image.
Hmm, hmm. Yes, and I remember when you were reading it, right? Like in the beginning when you were reading all of it,
Yeah.
when she came to this part, I was like, that's just wild. Wild. Like in the book that we're discussing, right? Happy Not Perfect, she's talking about the wild self and how she always checks in with that one aspect of her identity before making decisions, right? Because what would my wild self want? Maybe not what I'm doing right now, right?
Right. Yeah. And that's, like that's it's such an important step into awareness, right?
Yes.
What do I want in this moment? And what do I like about this moment right now, because like wanting and liking and all of those things are different. And so it's important
Hmm,
to be able to, it enters into form and returns to spirit. Unceasingly, it cannot be called by a name.
hmm.
Above it isn't bright. And I'm just trying to figure out, like, what are they referencing here? Looking at
Mm.
it, you do not see it. Listening to it, you do not hear it. Touching it,
Mm.
and this is, as we continue, this is spiritual form of form, spiritual image of image. Like that is what is beneath the form, what is beneath the image.
So
That is the spirit.
so I want to share with you what my mentor
Please.
Sally would call it.
Yeah.
As you know, my mentor is Sally Morningstar, right?
Hmm.
Precious soul. And she shared something with me last week that just, it was like the emoji with the brain exploding. And so she says, Graciela, if it is any difficult, it is not magic.
Right.
Because magic is so easy. It is in plain sight. We just don't see it. the like man is not too concerned with, matters of such invisible things. And
Right.
so I feel like the it that you're just describing, I could hear Sally's voice just calling it magic,
Yeah.
right? And we, I feel like as a Christian, I could call it so many other things. It's
Right.
life. It's life. It is the vibration that unites every single thing, including, this precious moment that I am having on my desk, looking out the window, listening to the birds with you,
Yeah.
right? A mi lado.
Hmm. Meet it. So like if we switch this it to magic, meet magic, you cannot see its beginning. Follow magic, you cannot see its end. Consider the
Right.
Tao of old in order to arrange affairs of now. To be able to know the life spring of old is to give expression to the thread of the Tao.
Hmm.
And I
Hmm.
do believe like if we were to look at that as magic, the life spring of old is the magic of old rather than the logic of today. The thread of Tao, right?
Right.
We
The
we like
basic,
to
down to
logically
basics.
understand things, but if we could
Correct.
allow that magic to,
Hmm.
and if we say that that magic is the life spring of old,
Hmm.
to be able to know the magic is to
Hmm.
give expression to the thread of the Tao, to the through line that Tao exists in all things.
Indeed. Yes. Yes. And, if this, just because of the way that I am, having something instruct me to look at the old automatically would make me go to the original version of this same number to read what's
Right.
there. There's something there for me today. You know what I mean? I'm not
Yeah.
asking you to do that. I'm just saying how I function. Like, I'll be looking into that translation later today because this is telling me to do so.
Yeah. Yeah. And then it's
Hmm.
always good to be able to, that's why I like looking at multiple translations because it's like, like this says this, but this is another person's translation. And so it's not just looking at one, although I do lean quite heavily on Stephen Mitchell. It's really nice to have a couple in my back pocket just to be able to pull them out and kind of explore them in a different
Yes.
way.
You're amazing, Martin John. You're
Mm.
such a gift to us.
Oh, well, thank you so much. And speak of the devil, I have Barsha on the line
Yes, Deborah, did you hear
coming
me
up.
singing? I hope she heard me singing. Maybe I called her with my sweet birdie voice. Anyway, have a great day, Martin John. I'll be around at 2.
Absolutely, we will be in touch, my dear. And Deborah coming on. It has been a while since we have talked. I am so glad to see you.
So glad to see you. How are you?
Oh, I am doing wonderful. I'm doing wonderful. And yourself?
Good. Yesterday I wasn't wonderful and I just improved some music about what I was feeling about the news and I put it on Wisdom and I just allowed myself to be free and improvisationally do what I needed to do.
Oh, well, I'll definitely check out your
Yeah. It,
profile and see if I.
well, it was only 10 minutes, but
That's
I had
good. Then take up all my time.
I just had to do it. I had to put it
Yeah.
out into the world some kind of something,
Yeah.
anyway, whatever.
Yeah. We don't have. I hate to bring this up, but like R. Kelly, for all the bullshit that he fucking does, he put out really touching stuff when shit
Yeah,
fucking went down. You know what I mean?
I
Like
know.
he's fucking R. Kelly still.
You
But
have to just translate it into what you're feeling. That's all.
yeah, and like for a guy that doesn't know how to read, he can do some shit. Like I love really yeah, it's tough. How's the family?
The family is great. I think Martha's in the audience.
Okay.
Um, my in-laws are all right. We had to postpone the chemo treatment because my mother-in-law is not well enough yet, recovering still from COVID. So we'll see.
Yeah. Okay. Well, my heart's with.
Um, should I pick a number?
Yes, you should. You absolutely should.
Okay, I think I'm going to pick today 59.
59. Off we go. Okay, so this one starts with the concept of governing a country, but and I don't know if we've talked about this. Anytime we talk about governing a country, we want to recognize that your body is a country. It's a country of cells, right? And your family is a country, and your house is a country. All of those things. So it's like, it's the great big actual country, and then all the way down to just little parts of your day. So for governing a country well, there is nothing better than moderation. The mark of a moderate man is freedom from his own ideas, tolerant like the sky, all pervading like sunlight, firm like a mountain, supple like a tree in the wind. He has no destination in view and makes use of anything life happens to bring his way. Nothing is impossible for him because he has let go. He can care, oh, nothing is impossible for him. Because he has let go, he can care for the people's welfare as a mother cares for her child. So that's 59. Thoughts?
Listen, that can be taken literally too, because this is
Yes.
where my body and my mind and my soul is after yesterday. This is it.
Yeah.
I mean, and I don't want to make the Dow political,
No, no,
but
no. Yeah.
I will say, yeah, we better govern this country correctly
Yeah.
because we're in trouble. So anyway, but that aside, we'll do the also the metaphorical interpretation too, because you are so brilliant at that.
Thank
So, but that's funny because the vibe of that is exactly where my vibe is.
you. Yeah.
Exactly where my vibe is. You know, which is why I felt compelled to do that talk last night, to do that improvisational music. So, yes, um, but now we can break it apart like you do, which is
Let's do that. So like I love how like this is this one starts with just this big statement. For governing a country well, there's nothing better than moderation. And okay, maybe we can end there. Maybe that's like that could be 59 in a nutshell.
mm,
But, like, what does that mean, right? Like, for governing a country well, there's nothing better than moderation. Yes, right? Like, that's the meme.
right,
But the Tao can't just leave you with that because,
right,
right? Because now it's like, now we're going to start talking about, like, what does that mean to be, to govern with moderation? And then we say the mark of a moderate man is freedom from his own ideas.
mm, yeah. So that actually is a healing statement for me,
Hmm.
right there, because that's very important right now. Yeah,
Freedom from his own ideas. What does that mean to you?
it means not to stay polarized in one place.
No.
Don't polarize myself this or that. And as an addict, as you know,
Hmm.
um, it's all or nothing all the time. And moderation is not fun for me. It doesn't feel fun,
Right.
but it probably is wise.
Right. Like we have ideas of like, I mean, if we are going to talk about this as a political thing, right? Like
Right,
we are we are cementing ourselves in our own ideas increasingly every day.
right,
We have the conservative end going increasingly conservative and not wanting to shift and not wanting to change in and accept anything. And then we have the liberal side, which pokes fun at the fact that, like, they are so right that, like, and the conservatives are so ignorant about how they, like, we can't break from our own ideas because we are constantly being drawn back into them
right,
with everything that we see, everything that we watch, everything that we are, it, and especially as we engage increasingly in social media, we get to introduce ourselves to our own ideas over and over again. And we
right,
never get to free ourselves from our own ideas.
right. And then I love the next sentences about mountain and supple
Right.
and
Tolerant like the sky. Like the sky will receive anything you throw in it. You put a balloon, you put a bird, you put an asteroid, you put like the sky will receive any of it. You're tolerant. You'll allow a rocket. The sky will allow a rocket to pass through it to destroy another country.
right,
Tolerant like the sky. All pervading like sunlight. So when the sun comes out, it's not going to shine on you because you're a good person any more than it's going to shine on a murderer.
You know what? That's very important for me to see right now visually. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Firm like a mountain. Like you like if you look at the, if you're here in the sun, you can see the sky. You look at the horizon, and there's a mountain there. That mountain's not going to move. And yet
Hmm.
everything around it, the rocket is going over the mountain, the sun is shining on one side of the mountain, there's snow on the mountain, all of this, and it's firm in its concepts and in who it is. And yet if you were to take that mountain and carve a face into it, it would still be rock, and it would still be there.
Right.
But it wouldn't demand you stop. It would be
Right.
firm, and who it knows who it is. It knows it's a rock. It knows its place, and it's not trying to stop anybody from doing anything. But it knows who it is. You know who you are, and so you come
Right.
on here and you do your 10-minute like improv thing. You do your thing. Why? Because you know who you are.
That's true. And yeah, there was a merging of knowing what I need and knowing what I think I could give back. So yes.
Right. And you just do you. You're firm. You're firm
Uh,
in who you are. You don't have to change because someone gets hurt. You don't have to change who you are. So many people, like especially in government, like as soon as like their child comes out as, LGBTQ, like all of a sudden they support LGBTQ. Well, where were you before and why are you here now? Is this honest?
right.
I don't I as even as a huge ally, like really hate when we gain allies through shame.
Mm, that's very, very, very interesting. Yeah.
Like that's a shit way to gain an ally because they're not an ally. And if they come around, good, great. But if you're just weak, I don't want you.
Yeah.
You can't be weak here. And
Yeah.
that's what firm like a mountain says to me.
Yes. And then supple. What is it? Supple like a
Supple
tree.
like a tree in the wind.
Right.
There's this Tom Waits song that says, like we're made for bending, you know.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Like we need to be able to bend. We can't because the more stiff we try to be, and that's like freedom from your own ideas, right? Like if you have your ideas and you know exactly what's right and wrong, you're just stiff. And when a good wind comes, you're gonna break.
Yep.
You're not gonna be able to withstand that wind.
Yeah.
He has no destination in view and makes use of anything life happens to bring his way. That's just the ability to
Wait a
receive
minute. Wait a minute. No destination in view and what?
and makes use of anything life happens to bring his way.
Right. Exactly right. Exactly right. This is where I am. It's so funny in my personal life. When we lived in Brooklyn in the city, we bought a house way up in the mountains in the Catskills. And that was like 16 years ago. And then we moved out of the city. We were Airbnb that. We bought this house and we intended to sell that, but it wasn't selling a few years ago. Now it's gone wild in the Catskills. Everybody's buying. We're going to sell that house, but I am dealing with memories of that house for 16 years. And I realize, I know this sounds like some luxury problem, but actually it's me struggling with certain memories attached to that thing. So this is making a lot of sense to me on that level too.
Yeah. And like that's right. Like like you have these memories, they bring up things like use it. Like receive these.
Yes,
I was
exactly.
walking with someone the other day in the rain and they were like upset at the rain, but it was just like, no, receive this. By
Right,
receiving this, you will stay in this mode of being able to receive more. Like don't look at the rain as a hurdle. Look
right.
at it as a gift in some way, like try, and that's the thing. Like, yeah, it's tough, but this is for you. This
Yes.
is something you can receive. What a beautiful way of receiving. To receive anything, to receive things that maybe you haven't been able to receive, because that opens you up to be you even more.
And I
Because
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to
No.
interrupt you. Finish that sentence if you did.
It just makes you more because like you are all things. You are the rain. You are, you know, you are the rain.
You are the sun. Yeah, yeah. Um yeah, that's really yeah, pretty amazing. And I once said to this whole thing reminds me that the enlightenment lies in the contradiction. It lies in the because I remember my therapist, I said, am I ever gonna, like, when am I gonna stop therapy? Like, do you, and he said, when you can live comfortably in a state of contradiction.
Absolutely. Like that's what I work with people on. Like that is the like this idea of like the only reason that you can't live in contradiction is because you're living under the influence. You're living under the
Exactly.
influence of an idea that you have that is not real.
Right. And I said the enlightenment is in the contradiction,
That's right.
of being as firm as a mountain and being as supple as a tree.
That's right.
Where is the enlightenment is right there in the middle of it. And
It's
that's
right
why
there.
yeah, and and I love, like, that's like in Buddhism, the Buddha defines himself by what he isn't. He's not this, he's not that. It's not
Yeah.
being a Buddha is not. And so you have to actually bring yourself to that, because I mean, it's just, that's I what I love about contradiction, that there is enlightenment in contradiction. I
Yeah,
love
you
that.
you you have to embrace the paradox. You have to
Yes.
also like the paradox is at the core of our being because you are 100% spiritual connected to everything and you are 100% separate being in a body.
Yep.
You exist in complete paradox.
Yep.
And if you cannot accept that, you will forever be searching.
Right. We are spirits in a
In a
material
material
world.
world, our spirits.
Yeah. That's why Sting was
Nothing.
such. Yeah.
So this continues. Nothing is impossible for him.
Yeah.
Because he has let go, he can care for the people's welfare as a mother cares for her child.
Right. That's good. That's like a healing thought for me today. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
59. That brought you what
Thank,
you needed. Oh,
thank.
Deborah, I love you. It's so good to chat with you. I'm
Love you
definitely gonna
too.
check out your improv from yesterday.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
All right. Bye.
Bye bye. So everybody, so you guys know I have workshops coming up on Tuesdays over the next 4 weeks. So if you're interested in joining me for a workshop, the Recover Yourself workshop definitely helps us embrace the contradiction, embrace the concepts that we carry and take those apart and start to really dismantle some of those things. I also have a subscription service where you get to talk to me 1 hour every month, and we get to start working on really embracing these contradictions and living under the influence and getting ourselves out from under the influence. So it will be sort of group, but there won't be any group meetings. It'll just be you will have access to the content as a group, and we'll start just by having a one-on-one conversations. If the group conversations are something that you guys want, we can create that. But those are some things I got going on. I really appreciate each and every one of you for listening to Tao of the Day and contributing to Tao of the Day. Thank you, Deborah, Graciela, Kelly, and Liam. I was talking about 44, so I'll go back to 44 and we'll see what. I don't know if did I read Isabel Mears. I don't know if I was reading Isabel Mears for myself here. No, I don't think I was. No, it wasn't. I don't know who it was. Oh, here it was. Setting up precepts. Name or person which is more near. Person or fortune which is more dear. Gain or loss which is more seer. So name or person which is more near, like which is more near the reality, the name or the person. So fuck your name, it's who you are. And I think that that's an important thing to recognize. It's like we don't have to associate us with like a name or a diagnosis or other things like that. We can just be who we are. Person or fortune, which is more dear? It's the person, right? The person name or person which is more near. Person or fortune which is more dear. Gain or loss which is more sear, which hurts more. Like I know in the Stephen Mitchell translation, he talks about success or failure and all that. And so gain or loss, that could be success or failure, because I know loss has been used as interdispersed with failure as well. Marsha Barsh is coming on, and we are going to explore. I don't know if we have ever spoken before. Marsha, how are you? Martha.
I'm good today. I'm very well, thank
I
you.
am very glad to hear that. And, that's all we got is today, right? So we're good today. That's to be celebrated.
I am not used to this. You were supposed to give a number?
Yes. So this is the Tao of the Day, and I read the Tao Te Ching. The Tao Te Ching is a ancient text written about 300 BCE, and or 600 BCE. I don't know why I said 300. And it consists of 81 verses. And so you pick a number between 1 and 81, and we read that together, and then we go through it line by line to see how it might resonate with you.
Yes. Should I give you a number?
Yes, ma'am.
15.
15. Okay. The ancient masters were profound and subtle. Their wisdom was unfathomable. There is no way to describe it. All we can describe is their appearance. They were careful as someone crossing over an ice over stream, alert as a warrior in enemy territory, courteous as a guest, fluid as melting ice, shapeable as a block of wood, receptive as a valley, clear as a glass of water. Now, do you have the patience to wait till your mud settles and the water clears? Can you remain unmoving till the right action arises by itself? The master doesn't seek fulfillment, not seeking, not expecting. She is present and can welcome all things. That's 15.
Very good. I like the muddy waters
Yeah,
because the lotus flower, I learned, grows in the muddy waters.
that's right.
And it seeds itself and is the most beautiful. The more the muddier the water, the more beautiful it is.
That's right. That's right. And that's why we talk about this is, like, can you do this? Can you just let the mud settle? And then
I
when that mud settles, we can seed and we can grow into something beautiful.
older, it's more easier to do because
Yeah,
you get more patience and you watch and you control that you want to be a controller. So you just wait a while and then you express yourself in a more patient way.
right. Completely. And then you let go. So this one starts by talking about the ancient masters. And ancient masters, that just means the people, like before this was written, people who understood life from this place. Like we were so much more advanced before when we were in touch with the spirit, when we were in touch with so many things. I mean, we look at the Tao, we look at Buddhism, we look at Kabbalah, we look at all of these wonderful, like, spiritual ways of understanding the world. And we talk about ancient masters here. So ancient masters were profound and subtle. There's nothing subtle about the world today.
Well,
Right?
the earth was time in their minds, and Tao means the universe being in alignment.
Yeah.
So their philosophies didn't get in the way of the media didn't get in the way of their philosophies, and
Right.
they were able to speak in a more simple way their philosophies without other things getting in the way, like
Yeah.
politics, like politics that's getting in the way of the United States right now.
Right. There,
So it's
and that's where this next line comes in. Their wisdom was unfathomable,
right.
especially for us today. We can't fathom the depth of the wisdom of those who were connected. Like, I always like to, when I look at the sky and I can't tell you, like if you go out in the daytime and the moon's not in the sky, many people couldn't tell you where the moon's going to be.
But they have
Like,
confidence that the moon will come up at night.
right.
Yes. So,
And that's an interesting thing where, like, the ancient masters were profound and subtle. They were here present with everything that's around them. Their wisdom was unfathomable. There's no way to describe it. All we can describe is their appearance. And that's just like you and I, right? Like, all I can describe is what I observe of you. Like, the depth of who you are is still hidden from me. It's hidden from everybody. Sometimes it's hidden from ourselves.
well, the number 15 meant a lot to me in my lifetime. That's why I chose 15.
Yeah.
Yes. I was born on the 15th. My grandchildren were all born on the 15th. My daughter
No.
was born on the 15th. So that number 15
Wow.
meant a lot to me. So I chose 15. And
This one continues to talk about, like how we describe it. They were careful as someone crossing an ice. And then there's just this grouping. It's this grouping of how we describe what they are, what they appeared to be. Careful as someone crossing an ice over stream, alert as a warrior in enemy territory, courteous as a guest, fluid as melting ice, shapeable as a block of wood, receptive as a valley, and clear as a glass of water. And all of that just describes the ancient masters. And when we talk about that, that's what we want to strive for. We want to strive to be this. I love the courteous as a guest. Like, it's always nice to be able to walk somewhere, go into a business or a restaurant and just recognize that you're a guest. That changes the way we act sometimes when we can recognize that.
well, they're describing emotions in nature as a nature symbolizing nature's valleys and things as an emotion. So
Yeah.
that's what that concept, I believe I'm finding in that concept.
Yeah.
So each emotion is the quietness of nature, really. So
Yeah.
maybe we should be more quiet in our emotions and take time out and have more patience with our emotions and find where are our emotions coming from? What triggered these emotions? You know,
Beautiful. And that brings us right into the next line. I don't know if you recall, but do you have the patience to wait till your mud settles and the water is clear?
when you're young, you don't have the patience as when you're older,
Yeah.
because the word wisdom is meaning experience from the past and what you take from it, the choices you take of these experiences, and that's how you get wisdom, I think.
Yeah. Then
And
it
I thank
continues
you
to
for
say,
taking me up.
"Oh
And
yeah.
I had listened to Deborah's wisdom from yesterday just now, and it was so sent shivers up me when she played her music, and
Yeah.
she played for the children, and how she found words within music for this horrible situation that Texas went through
Yeah.
yesterday.
Mhm.
And I don't know if you heard the music,
I
but
did. Yeah.
it was
Like
something.
this your 15 ends in a really kind of poignant way as you bring that up. Like, the master doesn't seek fulfillment. Here's Deborah going up and, like, doing what she does.
Yes,
The not
sometimes
seeking.
we can't find our voice.
Right.
And I was thinking, you ever see the 9/11 when they read the names?
Yeah.
And I think we should get all the names of these children who have died within the last 4 years or 5 years and read them off with background music like that. And then at the end, play taps for these children. Uh,
Yeah.
I am so saddened by this whole situation and how it's become a politician's voice instead of the voice of the people, the voice of the children coming to us. Name those names and do it just like that we did the 9/11
Yeah.
taps. And I want to hear taps for these children.
Yeah.
You know, I feel mother to all these children that died.
Mm.
And with that, I say I will have patience, but not, I can't hold on to patience much longer.
I
I,
hear you.
I want these children all to be heard from.
Yeah.
I want to hear their voices. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. I appreciate you coming up and speaking. And, there's a line in here that says, "Can you remain unmoving till the right action arises by itself?" Like, and I bring that line up only because, you know, when we are frustrated, when we are hurt, when we don't feel like we have a voice, those things aren't, that's not true. You have a voice, you can use it, and the right action will arise within you by itself, just like with Deborah. She came up and she said something, she did something. I haven't heard it, but I'm going to shortly. And that's a big deal. It's such an important aspect. Like, can we be with ourselves, hold these emotions, and be present with them? Because then this one wraps up by saying, not seeking, not expecting. She is present and can welcome all things, no matter how gruesome at the moment they are, because this is part of a bigger picture. We are being held here.
My silence is deafening,
Yes.
if you understand what I'm saying.
Yes. Yeah. I am always one to. I'm always one to just give space for silence. Silence is one of those things that I think we don't want to recognize, and silence is so important to have amongst us, because that silence allows us to be patient. That silence allows us to be unmoving. And yeah, for many people that silence can be uncomfortable, but be with that discomfort. That's okay.
But patience has a time limit.
Yes, yeah,
Patience has to be a group patient, and loud
yes,
voices comes from that group.
yes. And there are actions that will arise within us. And and when it's the right answer, we will answer that call. Like I like to say, if it's for us, we can't fuck it up. So just step up and do what you do. And just even speaking here is an action that is being taken, and it's being heard, and it's being spread. So I appreciate you coming up. I appreciate you being so vulnerable in this space. And 15 spoke so deeply to this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, Carol, have a good day.
You as well. So beautiful. Thank you, each and every one of you, for joining me for Tao of the Day. Yeah, we're facing some shit right now. And I think it's, although the things we face are horrible, I do think that it is going to take us to where we need to go. We need to receive this. Yes, it's hard to receive. Yes, it's hard to be present with these things, especially when we have so many ideas about what they are. But as we spoke about earlier today, we've freed ourselves of our own concepts. We've freed ourselves of our own ideas. And because we do that, we can welcome these experiences and use them however we need to. Her Majesty is joining me once again. Thank you so much.
Oh my gosh. Oh wow, 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 wow. Who joined you the last? I'm not good with names.
Martha Barsha?
Martha, yes, man. I can see her heart. I can
Yeah.
feel her heart. And Martin, I tell you, you have this peace and this depth about you. I mean, hey, I will pay every time to talk to you. I seriously
well,
will.
well, I'm gonna give myself a shameless plug and say I have a,
Yeah, I know
I
you
have a
do.
subscription
I
service where
know
you
you
can do that.
do. Yeah, I know you do. Because you don't find so many people that can talk to you for you to be still and watch, almost like stopping you in your tracks to watch and see before you move or take a step. So somebody like you, when somebody's going through some real anxiety or something, calls you and listen, just shoot. I love what you do. I really do, and I hope that you get a higher stage, a bigger stage, because people need people like you who can, hold them still.
Yeah, it's important. I even when I work with clients and stuff and they start going down, I'll only give them a couple minutes and then I shut them down pretty quick. It's not easy.
Mhm.
Not everybody likes to be told to stop going down that
Mm.
road, but it's not helpful.
Yeah.
And when they recognize that it's not helpful, they're grateful, but
Mhm.
it hurts sometimes. It hurts to be told, "Hey,
Yeah.
shut up."
And by far, and I will by far, you're the most positive person on here. By far.
Oh, well,
No,
well,
seriously.
thank you.
I just have to say it. I just have to say it. By
Thank you.
far.
Well,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
that's a huge.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
The
I
truth is the truth.
I receive that. I receive
Yeah.
that. All
Yeah.
right, so you and I are going to pick
Mm-hmm.
a number. What do we got?
Yeah. Uh, I will pick number 10.
Number 10.
Yeah.
Beautiful. I don't know the last time I read 10. Oh, so this is very much a good continuation of what Martha and I were talking about. Can you coax your mind from its wandering and keep to the original oneness? Can you let your body become supple as a newborn child's? Can you
Mm.
cleanse your inner vision until you see nothing but the light? Can you love people and lead them without imposing your will?
Wow.
Can you deal with the most vital matters by letting events take their course? Can you step back from your own mind and thus understand all things? Giving birth and nourishing, having without possessing, acting without expectations, leading and not trying to control. This is the supreme virtue.
Hmm. Wow, that's powerful.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. This morning, just like any other books, I sometimes read the Bible. Um, and one of the things that I read this morning, which is in line with this, was to cast your bread upon the waters.
Tell
And
me about
I've thought about it really deeply, and it's in line with what you just said. When I have bread and I cast it on the water, I don't know how this water is going to carry it.
it.
So if I become anxious, no matter how much I scream and turn and do everything, the water is going to do what it's going to do. So
Mm.
knowing that and having that in mind, it's better to be still and admire how the water takes it and where it takes it to.
Bread upon water, huh?
Cast your bread upon the water. Yes.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
Um, I have heard that before.
Mm-hmm.
To do something good or to take a risk, usually without expecting much in return. You should
Mm.
make time to offer assistance to others in case of casting your bread upon the water. Who knows how the favor will be repaid?
Mm.
So to do without expecting,
Yes. Wow.
giving birth and nourishing, having without possessing, acting without expectation, leading and not trying to control. This is the supreme virtue. Yes, I see that.
Yeah. Yeah. Just being there, being present,
Yeah,
and just be in awe, just like a little child. A little child is fascinated about everything.
yeah. Like being childlike, not childish, is important. And
Mm-hmm.
like when we start, like this starts with one, two, three. This starts with six, I think, six questions. Six questions about, can you do this? Can you coax your mind from its wandering and keep to the original oneness? There are times when I'm meditating and my mind just takes over. When I'm driving, there are times when I can clear my mind completely and just kind of be there and drive, and I
Mm-hmm.
can meditate and just be present but coaxing it, like, it really wants to think all the time. It wants to solve
Mm-hmm.
those problems. It wants to look at the world and say there's things that are wrong with it.
Mm.
But the original oneness is here everywhere, all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Can you let your body become supple as a newborn child? That's interesting. I don't know if that,
Yeah.
like,
Mm-hmm.
what does that mean to you?
Yeah.
Can you let the
So
body be supple?
that was a newborn child. Now, when you think about a newborn is not thinking in the future. A
Yeah.
newborn is very present in the moment. It responds to whatever is happening to it now, but it doesn't think in the future. That's my perception of
Mm-hmm.
what a newborn body is. And a newborn body is so much at rest most of the time. Newborns sleep so much. It's not even funny.
Yeah. It's interesting. As supple as a new, and as you bring that up, I think,
Mm-hmm.
like, it's not necessarily flexible, but
Mm-mm.
supple. But
Yeah.
supple about, like, it can be here and receive. Like a newborn child, if you squeeze it, if you move it, if you like twist it, like
Mm-hmm.
the body will twist without resistance.
Yeah.
Can you be without resistance like a newborn child's body? Can you
Mm.
live your life with so little resistance that you can receive whatever life brings without
Mm.
trying to offer force?
Wow. Wow. Hmm.
Can you cleanse your inner vision until you see nothing but the light? It's interesting. As soon as we look at something and we denote it as beautiful or ugly or
Mm-hmm.
right or wrong or in the way or
Mm-hmm.
whatever, we soon can we cleanse our inner vision so that we can see everything as it is,
Yeah.
because it is the light. Everything that we experience,
Mm-hmm.
even the shooting yesterday, is part of the light.
Yes. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Just seeing everything as it is, not passing judgments, just
Mm-hmm.
seeing it. Because I heard somebody says our thoughts are divine plagiarism.
Mm.
So living in your thoughts too much, especially in the negative, it's it it's something that doesn't help us.
Right.
So being in thought and present in the moment and seeing it as it is and not reading into it. I hear so many people say they don't think. I think it's beautiful that they say that.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess, how we get into the negative side is also the path we've walked. And with what you're doing, is trying to bring us back to the center.
Yeah.
That's why I cherish. I mean, listen, I've listened to you for a while, but I have this few days, I haven't really, I have really paid attention to you. And, with the amount of people that I see and the people I see and what is going on in terms of mental health and all that, I realize how important what you're doing is.
Yeah.
It's almost like you have a little safe haven on here.
And
Yeah.
this is like, this moves us into this next line, and this is something
Hmm.
that I really want to exude in my life. Can you love people and lead them without imposing your will?
Mm.
Now,
Wow.
I don't care what you do with this.
Mm-hmm.
You
Mm-hmm.
know, but I do want, and I'm not, it's interesting. I'm not looking to lead anybody, but I am trying to kind of create a space where people can create a space where people can be who they are. And
Mm-hmm.
I want to be here and just love you. I want to
Yeah.
love you as you are,
Yeah.
love you without imposing my will and even asking you to love me. That's okay. You don't have to, but I'm here to love you.
Wow. Huh. This goes in line with what I read today too. And also that was in the Bible and it says that do not curse the rich or the kings. Do not curse the rich in your mind, the kings in your mind, and the rich in your bedroom, because a little birdie, didn't say little birdie, but a bird will hear this and go and tell.
Yes.
I mean, if you listen to it just like that, you're going to think, oh, whatever, this is snitch. No, but
No.
it's such a deep thing, and it goes with this. You don't judge them.
Right. No. No.
Wow, wow, amazing. I mean, hey, I listen. I love what you do, and I'm rooting for you and hoping for you and sending the energy wide and far for you to get a bigger
I will
platform.
receive all of
Yes.
that. I
Okay.
will
It
receive
will
all of
happen.
that.
It will. It will. Just keep
Yeah,
doing what you're doing because you're doing a good thing. I appreciate you, Martin John.
absolutely. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Bye.
Bye-bye. Oh, so appreciate Her Majesty. I want to just finish this. Can you deal with the most vital matters by letting events take their course? Can you step back from your own mind and understand all things? When you get caught up in your own mind, like, you can only understand things from your point of view. So please try and step back from your own mind and understand everything. Giving birth and nourishing, having without possessing, acting without expectation, leading and trying not to control. This is the supreme virtue. And really appreciate Her Majesty Abby coming on and bestowing me with so much love. I really appreciate you. Thank you all so much for joining me for yet another Tao of the Day. This is Martin John. I host the Recover Yourself podcast of workshops around recovering yourself. And what does that mean? It means you're going to be recovering to something, to who you are. Harrison is going to join me now. And when you recover to who you are, you get to recover everything. Harrison, how are you, my brother? Harrison? I cannot hear you. I give everybody 30 seconds. If we can't get you. Oh, there you are.
All right. All
There
right.
you go.
Great. Yeah. Um, I'm doing good. Thanks for allowing me
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
on to get some of your wisdom today. I think it's great what you're doing in anything that you're dealing with. You should be reassured by how you're impacting other people. So that's to say the least. The question that you're talking about, can uh, leadership, it wasn't leadership, but can something occur without imposing your will?
Oh, well,
That's a
yeah,
great question.
that was part of 10. Yeah, like, that was part of
I just
10.
joined late.
So are you familiar with Tao of the Day?
No, sir. I'm
No, sir.
brand new
Okay.
to this app, and this was the first
Oh, well,
notification I got.
let me kind of fill you in on what Tao of the Day is. Tao of the Day, I come on weekdays sometime in the morning Central Time, and I talk about the Tao Te Ching. Are you familiar with the Tao Te Ching?
I've heard some things about it.
You've
I've,
heard
I've
some
heard a little
tell.
bit.
So the Tao Te Ching is an ancient text written about 600 BCE. It can be seen as as the start of the religion Taoism, but it is a philosophical text all about how
Hmm.
to live a reasonable life. It consists of 81 chapters, and what I do is I ask my guests to pick a number between 1 and 81. And then when you pick that number, we read that
Okay.
chapter of the Tao together. And then we go through it line by line and see where it's resonating in your life today, and where it's kind of like picking a tarot card. And it's like, let's see what the Tao has for you today. And that's what Tao of the
Yeah.
day is. So I would love if you were to pick a number, and I bet that we'll be able to have a
Yeah, that's
really great
great.
conversation around one of these chapters.
Tremendous. All right, let's do 36.
36. Wonderful. Off we go to 36. And now I'm going to be reading a translation by Stephen Mitchell that was translated in 1988. And I believe that this is one of the quintessential modern translations of the Tao. It's easy to understand, easy to digest. There are many, many other translations. And if you ever wanted access to those online, there is a free site that I can send you a link. So if you just sent me a message on Instagram, I would definitely send you that
Mm-hmm.
link. So, 36
Great.
states, if you want to shrink
Okay.
something, you must first allow it to expand. If you want to get rid of something, you must first allow it to flourish. If you want to take something, you must first allow it to be given. This is called the subtle perception of the way things are. The soft overcomes the hard, the slow overcomes the fast. Let your workings remain a mystery. Just show people the results.
Yeah, that's great. I think that's tremendous. And the fact that it was contrived so long ago, that's more of a more raw than a lot of stuff that would have been padded. I understand it's a translation, but
Mm-hmm.
the essence of it is physically practical as far as any type of law of expansion anybody would want to bring up.
So what?
Give and
Yeah. What are
return.
some of the lines or words that pop out at you for this? And I can read it again if you'd like.
Yes. Um, the the beginnings and the endings, like shrink to expand, you know,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
um, allow something to flourish before you get rid of it.
Yeah.
You know, that is
Yes.
a whole principle in between that.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
that's
So
that's really a great thing.
yeah, as we look at this, like, where in your life have you noticed, like, if you wanted to shrink something, you must first allow it to expand? For me, I remember one time
Uh-huh.
I had like a friend of mine had like acne, right? And he used um like steroid cream to get rid of his acne when he was younger. And so he suppressed his acne.
Yeah.
And then when he was in his as he was getting older and he was learning about holistic treatments and things, he decided to no longer use the steroid cream. And his holistic doctor was like, well, you're going to get your acne, but what we're going to do is we're going to pull it out. We're going to allow your acne to work its way out of your system. So you're going to get acne. It's going to be real bad, but it's only going to be
Yeah.
bad for like 6 months, and we're gonna get rid of it. And the thing was, is he was suppressing his acne, and then when he went into this holistic thing, what happened was for 6 months he had this horrible acne, but then he never had acne again, and he didn't have to take the steroid cream. What was that?
What a great story. Yeah. That's a great
So if you want
story.
to shrink something, you must first allow it to expand. Like, that's a really great sort of explanation of how that can work. It's like your body wants to do this thing, and we're constantly taking meds to suppress it. But all that suppressing is doing is keeping us in a state of suppressing something. But if we can just allow that to expand,
Absolutely.
same thing with love. How often do you want to, like love someone deeply? And it's like sometimes you just got to let that love go before it
Uh-huh.
can actually grow.
Now that is very interesting there, and that gets into this emotional suppression based on atmospheric conditions, or threats of non-reciprocity, and why somebody would suppress their natural giving love in the first place. Um, but as far as flourishing and giving up something, I think that's a tremendous example of what you have and how that what I do or what I would have done is I'll give an example from a friend. Um, he was telling me that he was really into football and he loved it, but he knew he wouldn't make it pro. So he played semi pro until he was 28. So for him, that kind of exhausted the passion of it so that he could then let it go.
Yeah.
Um, yes, to try to exhaust an excitement, say, like to exhaust an enthusiasm is a way to subside too much want, but that strays from what this principle is. But personally,
Well, I don't know
um,
that it does, but I mean I can see how this,
uh-huh,
like if you want to shrink something, you want to shrink your desire, right? If you want to
mhm,
shrink your desire for something, you must first
yeah,
allow it to expand. He wasn't able to he wasn't able to be pro, but he was able to expand. He was able to expand his experience by going semi-pro. And then
that's
the
right, that's right,
desire shrunk, and the desire, right? And so it's all about like shrinking this desire. Shrinking a thing, you must first allow it to expand, and it
yeah,
might have to expand in a way that you didn't expect.
yeah. Yes. Personally, I don't have one so conclusive as my friend. I'll say I was extremely enthusiastic in the media business and even being an artist. I did live in a small town in Kentucky. So I tried to exhaust all of my efforts, maybe to subsidize or legitimize really my desire to say, well, if I really want to do this, um, I'm going to go ahead and do what I can and exhaust it so that I'm not at disparity in some way. But I guess to shrink that desire. But that is only one, the shrink to flourish is only one out of about
One of these,
four or
right?
five
About
of those
four or
things.
five, yeah. So then we move on to
Hmm.
the next one. If you want to get rid of something, you must first allow it to flourish. This is,
Yeah.
this is like interesting because I saw a video about dandelions. And it's like dandelions actually help your garden, help
Uh-huh.
the land. And so if you get a lot of dandelions, like what they're doing is they're loosening up the soil because of their taproot. If you get rid of those, once again, it's like the acne. You're suppressing the job that the dandelions are trying to do. If you can just allow the dandelions to flourish for a couple seasons,
Yeah.
they'll heal the lawn, they'll heal the dirt, they'll heal the land,
Yeah.
and then they'll go away
Uh-huh. Hmm.
on their
That's a
own.
great concept. And that's a good concept to be introduced to somebody, whether they're beginning to wrap their mind around Taoist principle like this, like me,
Yeah,
new,
yeah.
even to someone who is foreign to the concept or new to it, and probably for someone who is already experienced in Taoism to understand the principle and the purpose of that dandelion and what it can do in its longevitous purpose.
Right.
That's a good
We
example.
talk in Tao in Tao philosophical concepts, and it's not like it is true. Like Tao exists, so it's not a philosophy, but we can talk about it in terms of philosophy. Like when we talk about these things, it's like Tao exists in everything, and Tao is, and the dandelion is much more in touch with its Tao than we are because we got our minds in the way. We got our brains
Yeah,
telling
I
us
bet.
how to be logical and stuff. And as we continue this piece, like it says, if you want to take something, you must first allow it to be given.
Yeah, that's
And
a good one. That
this
is a
might
good one.
relate very, 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 very closely to your art career, right? If you want to take something, if you want to have something,
Yeah.
you must first